People often talk about strength as if it's something you can just decide to have. As if you can just wake up one morning and say, all right, I'm going to be strong now. But that's not how it works. Strength isn't something you decide. It's something that's forged. And what forges it is time, and more precisely, time under tension. You see, when you're young, or when you haven't been tested, there's a kind of illusion that you can keep control of everything, that you can protect the people you love from all pain, all loss, all hardship. And it's a beautiful illusion. It's noble even. But it's false, because the truth is no one becomes who they're meant to be without being broken down first. There's no resurrection without death. There's no strength without suffering. There's no wisdom without disillusionment. And that's hard to accept, especially when it's someone you love. Maybe it's your daughter, maybe it's your sister, maybe it's your wife, your mother, or your friend. You see her hurting. You see life tearing at her, and your instinct, your soul deep instinct, is to step in, to shield her, to fight the storm on her behalf. But you can't. And more than that, you shouldn't. Because there are battles she has to fight. There are tears she has to cry. There's a breaking that must happen, because only through that breaking will the old self fall away and the new one, stronger, wiser, more grounded, begin to emerge. So when I say, let the time break her, I don't mean abandon her. I mean, trust the process. Trust that time, though it can be cruel, is also the greatest teacher there is. It strips away illusions. It refines character. It reveals truth. And if she's willing to endure it, if she refuses to become bitter or cynical or resentful, then that very breaking will become her making. You have to understand something profound. People don't rise in spite of their suffering. They rise because of it. That's the paradox at the center of human growth. The very thing that wounds you is the thing that transforms you. The pressure that cracks the shell is the same pressure that frees the life inside it. So, yes, let the time break her. Let it test her patience. Let it challenge her confidence. Let it demand everything she thinks she cannot give. Because on the other side of that, if she faces it with courage, with humility, and with faith, she'll be someone even she doesn't recognize. Someone formidable, someone capable, someone who can stand on her own 2 feet and say, I know who I am. I've been through the fire, and I'm not afraid anymore. That's what it means to be tempered by time. That's what it means to become real. Not unbroken, but beautifully broken. So don't shield her from the breaking. Don't curse the time that wounds her. Stand beside her. Encourage her, remind her of her strength. But let the time do its work, because the greatest gift you can give her is not protection from pain. It's the permission to become through it. Let the time break her so she can rise unshakable. Strength is not something that simply appears one morning because you've decided to be strong. It isn't a choice made in the safety of your room or in the comfort of calm days. Strength is something that is forged, hammered, and shaped in the furnace of difficulty. Through the slow and often excruciating weight of time pressing against you, it's time under tension that builds strength, not the absence of it. When you think of how a muscle grows, it's an almost perfect metaphor for the soul. You tear it down, you push it beyond its limit. And in that tearing, the rebuilding happens. The muscle grows not in the moment of ease, but in the moments of deliberate strain. The same principle governs psychological, emotional, and even spiritual strength. People often want to believe that growth is a linear process of steady improvement, a smooth climb upward. But it isn't. Growth comes through cycles of challenge and adaptation, failure and learning, collapse and reconstruction. And what drives those cycles is time under tension. The long, slow pressure of reality insisting that you change, evolve, or be crushed. There's no shortcut to it. You can read every self-help book, listen to every motivational speaker, or memorize every strategy for success, but until you confront genuine resistance, until you collide with something that doesn't yield, nothing deep inside you changes. That's why people who have lived through hardship often possess a kind of depth that comfort can't produce. They've been pressed upon by the weight of time and forced to respond, to adapt, to find out who they actually are when everything around them threatens to break. You can't fake that. You can't simulate it in a classroom or fabricate it through imagination. It's something earned, paid for in difficulty and endurance. And every second of that process adds another layer of substance to your character. The great irony is that most people want the outcomes of strength without the process that builds it. They want resilience without pain, confidence without failure, mastery without repetition, wisdom without error. But the universe doesn't work that way. The same forces that create the capacity for joy also create the capacity for sorrow. The same structure that allows triumph allows defeat. Strength only becomes meaningful when it has been tested and proven in the face of genuine challenge. Time under tension also teaches humility. It reveals to you just how limited you are, how fragile your assumptions can be, how easily you can falter. But that revelation isn't meant to destroy you, it's meant to ground you. It reminds you that strength isn't arrogance. It's not the belief that you're untouchable or superior. It's the quiet confidence that you can endure, that you can stand your ground even when everything inside you trembles. That kind of confidence doesn't come from wishing, it comes from surviving. Every person at some point will face their own version of time under tension. It could be a loss, a failure, a betrayal, an illness, or a season of relentless uncertainty. And in that season, the question isn't, why is this happening to me? But what is this shaping in me? Because time when resisted feels cruel, but when embraced, it becomes transformative. It stretches you, it tests you, and it gradually forms you into someone capable of bearing more weight, handling greater responsibility, and moving through life with deeper awareness. So, strength is not born in the moment of triumph. It's born in the long, invisible struggle that precedes it. It's the quiet endurance, the repeated choice to keep moving when the easier path would be to stop. Time under tension builds the kind of person who doesn't just survive storms, but learns to navigate through them with purpose and clarity, shaped into something far stronger than they were before. Breaking is not the end of something, it is the essential beginning of transformation. Before anything can become what it was meant to be, it must first be stripped of what it once was. There is no becoming without a dismantling, no rebirth without a death of some kind. This principle runs through every level of existence, nature, psychology, even relationships. A seed must split before it can sprout, and the shell that once protected it becomes irrelevant once life begins to grow within. In the same way, a person cannot evolve while clinging to the safety of what is familiar. The process of breaking is the price of becoming real. When people talk about strength or resilience, they often overlook this stage. They want to rise without falling, to gain wisdom without being disillusioned. But that's not how life works. The human soul, much like metal, must be tested through the heat of its own undoing. You have to face the collapse of your old beliefs, your false securities, your illusions of control. It's painful, often humiliating, because it exposes how fragile and unfinished you truly are. But that's precisely the point. Without that breaking, you remain trapped in a smaller version of yourself, clinging to comfort instead of growth. Breaking forces humility. It reveals the gap between who you think you are and who you actually are. It dismantles pride, dismantles naivety, dismantles the illusion that you can go through life untouched. And yet, through that dismantling, something deeper begins to form, an authenticity, a groundedness that cannot be fabricated any other way. You stop pretending to be unbreakable and instead learn to be honest, to be human. The fragments of what once was begin to reorganize into something sturdier, truer, and more aligned with reality. When the breaking comes, most people fight it. They resist, they deny, they panic, desperate to restore the illusion of stability. But the paradox is that the longer you resist, the more violent the breaking becomes. The only way through it is to allow it, to trust that what feels like destruction is actually creation in disguise. When you are finally broken open, the old structures fall away, and in their absence you find space for growth, for wisdom, for the emergence of someone you couldn't have become otherwise. Suffering is the great refiner of the human spirit. It takes what is shallow and untested within a person and subjects it to fire until only what is genuine remains. Pain, loss, disappointment, and struggle have a way of stripping away all pretense. They expose what lies beneath the surface, revealing what kind of foundation a person truly stands on. When everything easy and predictable is removed, when comfort no longer shields you, you begin to see yourself clearly, your fears, your pride, your frailty, but also your capacity for endurance, compassion, and faith. Suffering is merciless in its honesty, but that honesty is exactly what makes it transformative. It is through suffering that people come to understand the depth of their own character. When everything is going well, virtues are easy to imitate. Patience costs nothing when life moves according to your will. Faith feels effortless when you're in control. Love seems abundant when it's reciprocated. But when life withdraws its conveniences, when prayers go unanswered, and when the world refuses to bend to your expectations, then the real test begins. You find out whether patience still holds when there is no reward in sight, whether faith still breathes when silence fills the heavens, whether love still flows when it is not returned. That is when character ceases to be theoretical and becomes real. Suffering also reveals truth about the world and your place in it. It confronts you with limitations and forces you to acknowledge that life is not designed to fulfill every desire or protect you from every harm. This realization is not meant to break your spirit, but to awaken it. Through suffering, you begin to grasp the reality of consequence, the fragility of life, and the preciousness of what endures. You learn discernment. What matters wasn't what is worth holding on to, and what must be let go. Those who have suffered deeply often carry a wisdom that cannot be taught in comfort. Their eyes see further, their words carry weight, their compassion runs deeper. They have met the darkness and found light within it. Suffering refines the human soul, not by making it harder, but by making it truer, grounding it in the reality that meaning is not found in the absence of pain, but in the transformation it brings. The instinct to protect someone from pain is one of the most natural and noble impulses a person can have. When you love someone, every part of you wants to shield them from harm, from heartbreak, from disappointment. You want to stand between them and the storm to absorb the impact so they never have to feel it. But as noble as that instinct may seem, it can become destructive if carried too far. Protecting someone from pain can also mean protecting them from growth, from responsibility, from the development of inner strength that only adversity can produce. To constantly intervene is to rob them of the very process that would make them capable of standing on their own. Every person must earn their strength through experience. No one can hand it to them, no matter how much love or wisdom they possess. You can offer guidance, encouragement, and support, but the actual encounter with hardship, the friction between a person and reality, is theirs alone to face. When you remove that friction, you remove the opportunity for growth. It's like preventing a butterfly from struggling out of its cocoon because you can't bear to watch it suffer. The struggle looks cruel, but it's necessary. Without it, the wings never strengthen and the creature never flies. Pain is a teacher that no one wants but everyone needs. It instructs through experience what words can never fully explain. A child who never fails learns nothing of perseverance. A person who is never criticized learns nothing of humility. Someone who is never rejected learns nothing of self, worth apart from the approval of others. When you intervene too quickly, when you rush to fix or shield, you deny them these essential lessons. You may save them from temporary discomfort, but you also stunt their long-term development. True love does not mean rescuing someone from every difficulty. It means believing they are capable of enduring it. It means standing close enough to catch them if they fall, but far enough to let them climb on their own. Growth requires struggle, and struggle requires the freedom to fail. Protecting someone from pain is not always kindness. It can be a subtle form of control, a refusal to let time and experience shape them into who they were meant to be. True transformation is not born out of ease or convenience, but through endurance, courage, humility, and faith in the midst of adversity. When life begins to fracture the ground beneath you, when everything familiar starts to fade or fall apart, what determines who you become is not the scale of your suffering, but the posture you take toward it. You can choose bitterness, resentment, and self-pity, or you can choose to endure, to face the pain with open eyes and a steady heart. Endurance is not passive, it is an act of defiance. It's the decision to keep walking even when there is no visible path ahead. It's the quiet refusal to let despair define your story. Courage in these moments is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. It's standing in the presence of uncertainty and saying, I will move forward anyway. Most people wait to act until they feel strong or confident, but real courage arises precisely when you don't. It is born in the trembling hands, the sleepless nights, the moments when everything in you wants to run. Courage is the bridge between what you are and what you could become, and it is built plank by plank through consistent choices to confront rather than retreat. Humility is what keeps this process from turning into arrogance. When life breaks you open, humility allows you to see that you are not the center of the universe. That control is an illusion, that your wisdom and strength have limits. It grounds you in the reality that growth is not something you can manufacture by willpower alone. It's something you cooperate with. Humility teaches you to listen to learn to let the experience itself instruct you instead of constantly trying to dominate it. And faith is the thread that holds it all together. It's not blind optimism or wishful thinking. It's the conviction that the pain you're enduring is not meaningless, that there is order hidden beneath the chaos. That time is doing its work even when you cannot see it. When you endure with courage, humility, and faith, transformation stops being a vague hope and becomes a living reality forged in the very moments you once thought would destroy you.